I think I would call you Chatty Boy.
Because it would be fly to have a dog named Fly.
And you might have to do some writing, but it's like venting almost.
You know, you can click and in 15 minutes you'll have a website.
You're so sweet.
People that I suggested it to probably are still not using it.
He's be so bitter. Hey y'all, welcome back to Stay Sharp. We are having more conversations on personal and professional development. I am your host, Jordan Rhea, and your co-host is right here beside me, Rashad Tyler.
Co-hosting it.
Co-hosting in this thing.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm really, really good.
Look, if you, totally changing the subject here, but if you were a rapper,
yeah,
I think I would call you Chatty Boy. Because you be on that ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Chatty Boy is so sick, yo. God.
So now I've become
Chatty man, yo.
Chatty Boy.
What's my guy? Oh yeah, Chatty man.
You rather
like,
Chatty man?
On the low, my favorite rap name, God, I'm gonna just share it. Like I remember when we went to Atlanta, we was working on Peace Project when we first started, and I saw all of the Money Man posters.
Oh, that's right.
Like, I don't care what your rap name is. No rap name is greater than Money Man.
All right, Chatty Man. Whatever.
Chat Boy, that's funny, yeah.
That's what we're going to share today.
Yeah.
ChatGPT has been in the conversation for the last few months, year or so. I don't know how really long. Mm-hmm. You got onto it first. I am now a chatty girl, chatty lady. Mm-hmm. And there's 8 ways that we use ChatGPT on a daily, just about. Yeah. We're definitely using it weekly. I don't know if I'm using it daily. I'm excited to get into that. I've downloaded the app officially on my phone. I was using it mostly on the desktop. But having the app on your phone, I think, could be a key to just literally better than Google on your phone, on your side. Yeah, let's run the 8 ways that we have. 4 from you, 4 from me. How to use ChatGPT. And some of these things might be common sense if you're using ChatGPT already. Mm-hmm. We understand that. But maybe we'll give you an example. We will give you an example of how we're using it that will help you just kind of see inside our thought process with it, because it's endless, it's boundless, it's everything.
All of those things. So
number one. Drum roll.
So for research, right? So anywhere you look, people are referring to the potential of or using ChatGPT as a research assistant. It is the way that I would suggest most of us really leverage its real capabilities, its real power. So where you typically would go to Google and type in, keywords or like prompts, you can ask a very narrow question and it will go and use all of its knowledge and give you back a very specific answer, oftentimes giving you more than you asked for. But it's a dramatic improvement versus what you can accomplish using Google.
Yeah.
Because Google will give you just a bunch of like web links to go to. Then you got to go and search down each of those web links, articles and otherwise, in order to kind of get what you really can just get in a conversation with ChatGPT. Think of it as a live research assistant that's smarter than you are, and you can ask all of the things. And some of the limitation with that should also be mentioned is if you're not a Plus user, which, if you do become a Plus user, you'll know that currently you can use its ability to use web browsing for current information, where if you are, I want to be careful, a basic user.
I'm a basic user.
You will only be able to leverage its knowledge or training up to September 2021. So there's a bit of a, difference in terms of like power user versus regular user. And so if there's a book or some resource that came out between then and now, it can't leverage that information.
Will you share an example of the research, a question you've given to your research assistant on ChatGPT and what it gave you back?
Yeah, so there are a number of things that we are working on from a brand perspective where sales strategies or social strategies may be concerned. I will really ask it for examples of what different successful players are doing or have done. And I will have it cross-examine the things that I'm doing to help me recognize what skills I need to add. And in this case, the research assistant can tell us like, this pattern is being played out in this sector. Here is where you're currently operating by comparison as an input to the ChatGPT. And then it can say, well, you could consider adding these things because they'll know, of course, what is working out for somebody else, but you don't need it to tell you what you're already doing as a redundancy. You need to have it subtract out what you're doing and then only leave you with the knowledge of what you need to add.
Yeah, I like that. I've seen you use it a lot, and we've got 7 more ways that we're going to share. My number 2, so this is number 2, is communicating specifically for email responses. We all know that if we open our inbox, we could get overwhelmed. We can get inundated with emails that we probably need to reply to, that we should reply to in a timely fashion. And for some reason, I get very overwhelmed when I open my inbox. I have to share something back. And I'm not sure what it is about an email. And if anybody else can relate, emails just create more work. I feel like every email I have to send takes me at least 15 minutes to construct my reply and then send it. I'm going to proofread it and then not attach the attachment. And it just is a lot, right? It literally heightens my anxiety to have to respond to most emails. Maybe not every email. Some things are like a yes or a no or just a quick, here's the link or whatever. But some emails I get, for instance, an inquiry. Someone who has picked up my email from the show notes or my Instagram page, and they're emailing me a question of about our capabilities or something that we do as an agency. And I have to fix a reply because I certainly want to engage with that person. And it's not as robotic as just sending them to our website. Obviously, they probably already went to our website. What they're asking me, I need to reply, but it just feels like a weight on my shoulders. So I've started to go to ChatGPT and put the email in there. And based on what that chat already knows about me, they'll be able to give me something back. So I can reply without doing a lot of the, I guess, emotional lifting of replying to an email. So that's one way I've started to use ChatGPT. If I don't feel like getting back or I'm stuck, I have email writer's block.
So you use that single chat, that same chat, and you go back to it repeatedly.
Yeah.
So
just email responses.
It has its own training inside of that chat.
Yeah. I've even replied to not only just inquiries, but even current client situations that I'm not sure. I want to take the emotion out of what I'm saying and make it more about, what I need from the person emailing me. Like, okay, cool. Your note has been received, but I need you to know, I still need you to do this, this, and that. How can I be very direct and brief without really having to put in the thought on how to construct my reply?
Yeah.
So you still have to put in a few minutes to figure out what you're going to say back, because you still got to put something into ChatGPT and prompt it. But I love using it for that.
Right. No, I love that.
Number 3.
Summarizing. Is that right? That's one of my favorite things about this thing too. I really lean on my brain dumps coming to form and being useful by taking all of my thoughts and asking it to organize it. And it actually can, surprisingly, make sense of a lot of random ideas, a lot of random thoughts, where maybe you would be lost with being able to read something back if it came in paragraph form. I can also ask it to put it into bullets or put it into tables so I can move it into other parts of our business potentially. So for example, I can ask it to make tasks and deliver it inside of tables, and then I can turn that into a whole, set of operations or instructions for our team, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm able to do by just starting with a general brain dump, converting it to some sort of summary, and then commanding the ChatGPT after confirming what it's given me to move it into something that's operational. And I can also kind of tweak the ways that it's summarize things, say, well, I didn't mean that, or expand on different things so that it's concise before I move it on to another thing. Also, as you know, and I think this is my favorite thing about it, the combination of Zapier, ChatGPT, and I use Google Sheets as a place of triggering and receiving and logging information. So I use a form to daily put in my journal, and then I have a prompt or a trigger in my Google Sheets that kicks over to ChatGPT that gives it all of my entries. So take a week's worth, take a month's worth, it doesn't really matter. And I can ask ChatGPT, because I've already programmed it, to provide back a summary of all of my journal entries. And so I can more easily digest the range of my thinking without going through endless brain dumps, because my journals are exactly that. It's just a brain dump. So it can take all of that information and make it something that is actually useful to me, even though it came from me to begin with.
Yeah. So you can really see if you had a good week or a bad week, or, you were more productive one week versus the next week, or you spent a lot of time doing a certain thing, you'll be able to kind of get that playback from those prompts.
And if I wanted to, I could add the date entry piece of it to it and make it aware of when certain ideas came to be. So I could go like, hey, we're currently doing this thing. Like, through all of my journal entries, do you know when I first mentioned this? And it can go like find that information. So there's a lot of really cool applications.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number four.
1, 2, 3,
4 is ideating for me. Ideating, helping me to vision cast and giving me additional language for what am I wanting to, I guess, project. And the most recent time that I used it in this sense was a few months ago. We were rewriting some of our agency brand language, and I needed a high level assistant to help me think through some of those things. Okay, this is where the agency has been for the last 3 or 4 years. I know that we are on this trajectory. Thus, I need different brand language. I need different phrases and descriptors and different things to describe how the agency has grown, what we do now. And ChatGPT really helped me to open my mind around just even specific words that I was like, oh, I never thought that I would have used that in certain ways, but I just needed to have a thought partner in that. And sometimes what I find interesting about ChatGPT is like, it is your thought partner, even though it could feel like, well, I need to talk to a real person. You call, you're like, I need to talk to representative. In this case, no, I want to talk to someone who, or something, someone, whatever, that doesn't, there's not a bias, there's not an emotional attachment, and it's going to give me playback based on a lot wider of a perspective rather than a person. So rewriting some of the agency brand language that now lives on our website and our capabilities deck, helping me summarize projects and what we really did. Because when there's all this language around us, first of all, people don't read. And when we redesigned our website, I was like, I want as least amount, and this is probably not great for search engine, but that's where you put the descriptions and the meta stuff and the photos,
keyword stuff.
Anyways, yeah. I was like, I want as less whatever words as possible on our website because people don't read. But I need people to click on things, and really talking through some of those high level macro ideas and visions with ChatGPT helped me narrow in on, this is what we do. This is what we're going to say. This is how we're going to describe it. And then when people come back to us, this is what we'll be able to reply back. And it sounds, at that point, it sounds more human. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah.
But that's the ideating part of using it. Like, use it to like just pretend with it for a little bit, and you might not use the information that it gives back to you. That's fine. But you might use like one word that it gives back to you and it could change a lot.
Yes.
It's really dope.
Yeah. All right.
Number 5.
Number 5, proofreading. For me, plays out very valuably because I'm a poor speller, notoriously a poor speller. But that particular isolation is such a low lift. Like your web processor could have done that. But what your word processor can't do is it can't play back tone, clarity, and all of these other things. So I will a lot of times share what I've written with ChatGPT, especially if I like what I've written, and I'll ask for it to check for clarity and grammatical errors and, of course, spelling all in one pass. And that way I get a better understanding for the experience on the receiver side. Because if you write something that somebody can't understand, then that's a much more harmful, way to go about shipping your work than having the wrong version of like putting an A in beer.
Yeah.
Right. People are much better able to forgive you for that than not being able to understand what the hell you were asking for. So I really like that I can leverage it for that. And I also fatigue quite a bit from a writing standpoint. So when I don't have the ability to like look through all of the different lines, it just gives me a lot more confidence that I can just go kick it to this thing and go, okay, well, what do you think? And it's like, oh, this is very, very clear. Like you should, feel confident that they will understand this, and this, and this going away from it. So we'll give you concise enough feedback for you to know that it actually was received. Yeah. And if the person on the other side says they don't understand, you can just, ask ChatGPT to help them understand by like giving them the response that the person shared with you. And it might be able to more effectively and quickly give you the edited response backwards that you don't have to craft because you were already short the necessary words to begin with, which led to the confusion. So I like using it as a part of my communication loop, the same way you just kind of described. But in that way, again, because I'm not a great speller, I'm able to also check that box off.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances with the way that could proofread.
Yeah.
And a lot of depth to it rather than a standard
tone,
software is just
voice.
going to check for grammatical errors.
Grammatical, all of it.
That's dope. Number 6 is planning for me. I know you've used it to plan, some things too. And my off-top examples are go-to-market strategy and internship program or plan, like a 90-day internship situation. So the first thing, go-to-market, when we were revising and kind of getting into our production bag with Stay Sharp, when we were about to introduce Raire Goods to, the world or whoever we introduced it to, we're still in the process as of this recording, totally fine. But just really trying to get an understanding of the go-to-market strategy for those things was so important for me to understand because they were things that we hadn't done a lot of, and we hadn't done them consistently enough for me to really understand this is the flow of how that process needs to go. So it really helped me like plan those processes with the type of roles and responsibilities we needed to fill, what those distinctions are, so I'll even put in information, Rashad as our visionary and myself as our operator. How can we reintroduce this podcast? What are some of the things that we should be thinking about? How should we go about production? What's a checklist? What does a production day look like? What does it look like even producing one podcast episode? And not that like I've never done that before and we've never done that before, but it just gives you back a checklist in real time. Literally, it takes a couple seconds. You don't have to click on a whole bunch of links. You don't have to go type anything yourself or, retype or, formulate it yourself. It just spits out, editing, scripting, writing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, cool. I might have been underthinking a certain part of this planning process, and I need to make sure I include that. So that was really helpful with essentially a go-to-market strategy. And there's a lot more to that. Like that thread, I think, in my ChatGPT is super, super long.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a reply to that or?
No. Actually, number 7 pairs well with how you.
Well, pause real quick because I'll share the internship program.
Please, yeah.
A while back we had an intern on, and I just wanted to I didn't want to give a lot of effort. This sounds crazy, but I'm like, I shouldn't be giving a ton of effort into like what this internship program looks like. So let me just mosey on over to ChatGPT and ask, what's a standard internship program look like for a graphic designer for 90 days? And it literally week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And I understood, I was already aware of what all of those things were that intern should be introduced to during that time frame. I just wasn't sure which week we should be doing what, how many. And I was like, at this many hours. So I was like, 8 to 10 hours a week. And it'll literally spit out week 1 for 2 hours doing this, week 1 for 6 hours doing this over here. You know what I'm saying? And various projects and tasks that you could work on from week to week. So that was really helpful. I used it. I put it right into ClickUp, and our intern went through that process. Yeah.
I think that's again, like, I'm glad we have this listed right before number 7, because I don't want to respond to that, because I think a part of my response is inside of number 7.
That's cool. I'm wrapped there. So,
which is number 7 is expanding. And so the way that Jordan described even that, like, she had blind spots or different things that she would submit to the chat and ask it for ways to help her understand what she did not understand. And I think the way that ChatGPT actually fills in the space between what you already know and what you need to know that you didn't have any knowledge of prior is important. But what I want to add is that you can make the mistake of believing that it knows what's best for you. And that's not what it's really great at, because the frameworks that it will provide for you are really generic and they're already pre-existing. So you have to be very careful not to lean on it for novel ideas or things that are not already in use by other people in your space. So when you're able to leverage it for basic understanding, do so. If you are leveraging it so that it can help you understand your blind spots by expanding your initial query with information that, again, you wouldn't have had otherwise, fantastic. But just realize that it is not going to put you on the cutting edge of your industry. You need to spend more time deep diving and narrowing your prompt so that you can say, hey, how does so-and-so? So, for example, if you were an investment professional, a venture capitalist, you wouldn't ask the broadest question about like how to invest, because it's going to just come back and probably give you value investing, right? It might give you Warren Buffett's method or give you a list of methods. You need to know what and why you should double click on the Warren Buffett approach or the, I'm not sure who else did, maybe Soros's approach. Like, you should know why you need to go into those more narrow informational funnels, because it has a disproportionate value to you and your business and your industry to have a desire to be off of the more traditional proven path, because you will get very normal results, because all ChatGPT is designed to do is not give you the wrong answer in most cases. Yeah. So using it to define everything would be a dramatic mistake, because you will not be unique in the end.
Great that you pointed that out. Yeah. Because it's not end all be all, and it's not perfect, and it doesn't replace the work that you still have to do. Like everything, it's a tool, and it's gonna help you get to hopefully help you get to kind of a faster resolution, but you still have to do the process. Like, you still have to do the work.
And I want to emphasize that it's not going to be wrong. the idea is, how can you find the thing that is especially right for you?
Yeah.
And only you will have the unique inputs that will allow something to have a very glove-like fit for you. So you can't just go to it and say, I need a website. Because you get all of these AI ads all the time. Like, you can click and in 15 minutes, you'll have a website. It's like, that doesn't help you identify your market. That doesn't help you identify your difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last but not least, number 8, in no particular order. These were in no particular order, but copywriting. Copywriting YouTube descriptions and standardizing the YouTube descriptions, I think, is helpful. Again, you can just have a chat and it's going to remember your tone, remember what the channel is about. And it's crazy because I find myself still using the chats to give me YouTube description prompts, but I just go rewrite them anyways. It just helped me get over the hump of that like blank canvas. You've heard about, when you have writer's block or there's a blank page, it's hard to put the first few words down. But sometimes if you start with a page that already has a paragraph and you're like, oh, I can just kind of fill in the blanks or just add my touch, it's a lot easier. So YouTube descriptions, I'm not really using it for social on like the Instagram side, like shorter things. I'm not really using it there, but I have seen and heard a lot of people talk about even that, using ChatGPT to assist with copywriting on social. I think that that's really cool. And the last thing and most recent is candle descriptions. The candle descriptions that we wrote for our Fly and Ambitious candle that we literally just mentioned. I went to ChatGPT to see what kind of, I guess, what's the word that I'm looking for when the flowery language. The candles do not smell like flowers. I'm not a floral girl. I'm not a floral smell girl, but I needed flowery language in order to create some of the captions and descriptions that I wanted. We need a short description for the candle. We need a longer description for the candle. And we need a story. Even though I had the story in my head, I hadn't written it out to where it could take someone on a journey. Yeah. Through like almost like you can smell the candle through the description is what I was going for. So I talked to ChatGPT about it and we got some really, really dope descriptions for what I was trying to say. And I kind of had to do half of the work. Well, the work I already did was done. Yeah. I just needed to formalize it.
So I got a question for you real quick. Because, none of us should attribute like human characteristics to, the machine. But in your mind, I'm not saying, I'm not accusing you either way. Because it's a question. You can answer it better than I could, like, assign it to you. So is ChatGPT a girl or a guy? Do you address it or think of it with any of those? Do you think of it as a machine? Like totally?
Yeah, I think I definitely think of it as a machine, but it's hard. And I don't know if I'm doing it. So I don't want to get caught in a trap you're trying to set me in.
No, I'm not trying to set
Because I'm like, am I referring to it as a person?
Do you say you?
Oh, when I'm talking?
Yeah, when you write a prompt to it?
Sometimes.
Do you say please?
It depends, I think, on my state. I don't think I say please. Like, please write an email for me. And there's moments where I have said, can you help me form?
Can you? Yeah.
For sure. But there's moments where I'm like, I'm almost practicing my own copywriting in my own direction. And I'm like, I'm not talking to anyone. So
do you feel like you fatigue it? Like you trying not to overuse it? Like, like does this come into like when you're using the program, like, do you go like, I want to send all of this to you at one time because I don't want to bother you. Do you take any of those? Yeah, I bring a lot of my human interaction.
Ask another question. Asking that question. I
bring a lot of my real world like interaction habits into it. I absolutely say please, thank you, thank you bothers you.
It doesn't bother me, but it's just funny, and I'm sure I hope someone's laughing on the other side.
Yeah, I'm curious about how people do that.
If you use ChatGPT, you have the little thumbs up. So I'll do that. I'm like, oh, this was a good response. Let me give that response a thumbs up. And that is the way of saying thank you. But yeah, I'm okay with asking several questions back to back. I'm okay with also too, depending on the answer you're trying to get back, you might need to really put in a lot of context. So you're telling ChatGPT, just like you would, it's hard to not humanize this, but say you were talking to a friend and you're like, I need some advice.
Yes.
I had a client that whatever, or my co-founder is doing whatever. I need some advice. And you got to explain the situation. So you got to share, like, these are the things that I did. These are the things that other party did. I'm trying to come to a resolution. And you might have to do some writing, but it's like venting almost. So in that case, yeah, like it could get personal. But I don't feel like I'm not saying please.
I think it's a very interesting conversation that, you know, some people in a certain part of the web are having.
Yeah. Can you share a quick example? Because you and y'all, he's a lot more in tune with these conversations than I am. I'm just using the tool. I'm not necessarily thinking through the psychology of it or the impact of it and what it could mean in the years to come if you are treating it like, because low-key, you could have a whole chat in there and she's like, yo, this is my homegirl. Mm-hmm. And you can name the chat homegirl.
Yes.
You can do whatever you want with it. So what have you heard, like negative or positive ways? You're like, no, it's kind of a big no to some people. You should not be treating this as.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a conversation I'm not qualified for, like to kind of check people on the behavioral and interactive level. I do, on the other hand, and this is more comical than anything else, but I'm just like, treat the machines nice, man. You don't know where this shit gonna go.
You so sweet.
Yeah, I just like, you know, like I think of like my Uber rating, all of those different things. Like, I don't know who's gonna, you know, be in a spot where they're judging, like, I don't know if I'm gonna pick this dude up, right? Because you got lower reviews.
But how do you tip though?
Why are you putting my business in the street, bro? I feel like you're trying to like.
What this whole platform is for.
I did have.
We're opening up.
The other day, I tipped 30-something%.
To who? For
a lady from the West Bank.
Where was you going?
I went to pick up some stuff.
It's okay.
Yeah, it did sound super sketchy. I'm sorry. But nah, she had a really tragic story that, you know, anybody would empathize with. So, you know, I pumped it up a little bit. And then when we get lucky, like, I tip well too. Like, if I'm like, you know, I booked a comfort and then we get a black SUV. Yeah.
New Orleans and the whole Uber game, you don't know what you're going to get, but you might get surprised.
Yeah.
Pleasantly, or you might, I've had the most sketchy rides in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Anyways, we, one thing that I've listened to, I heard a podcast maybe a week or two ago about ChatGPT. I come across things every once in a while, how it's integrating into the workplace, how people are using it. And there was this headline that this woman got a divorce using ChatGPT.
Ooh.
And I'm not sure where the article was, but I was like, obviously that caught my attention. I was like, what is going on? And the context was that she actually used ChatGPT to get her ducks in a row before she engaged with her attorney. That way she could save more money. And I think that her attorney actually suggested it to her, was like, hey, like, you know, before you retain me for more hours than necessary, these are all the things I'm going to ask you to do anyways. Just feed this into ChatGPT and it'll help you get your stuff together. Plan. Yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's definitely an exit
plan. I mean, develop your exit plan with ChatGPT and then get your divorce.
Yeah.
But I thought, and two, I don't know who.
And not that we're laughing at divorce. We're laughing at the way that it's set up.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was meant to be, I think, a clickbaity way of grabbing attention and just sharing with people, like, also the ways that it could really help you get out of a situation, help you get out of not that it's just about getting out of things, but it could help you with some really big decisions, possibly if you're still understanding, you know, that you got to use it to make you still got to make the best decisions for you.
Bring some real clarity to some things.
Yeah. So what are the ways we shouldn't be or why shouldn't we be fearful of it? Because that's an example where I thought that, again, like the divorce topic is not it's not the focus not the here. Trigger, like we're not emphasizing like anything like that. It's more so just a big decision that it helps someone save money, it helped them save time, and it probably, I'm not sure what else, who knows? I don't even know. I'm not going to speculate, but
it could have been worse if because you imagine what anxiety comes with that, what other side things that you can avoid aside from the legal piece of it. Like, you know, who you need to get in contact with, you know, it's a lot of different components to it. And, you know, I imagine like people who are going through first or second or, you know, third pregnancies, like has, you know, value in that space too. Yeah. I guess calming or putting in perspective, like what ChatGPT means for jobs or like future jobs and sort of like the future of work is that you won't be replaced by AI itself, right? You'll be replaced by a person using AI because it's a tool that can help you really ratchet up your efficiency. But at the end of the day, like we have to understand that it doesn't actually like decide to make lemonade, right? Hell, it don't even decide to have lemons. So it actually requires an operator. So what I would encourage people to do is like get into being an expert operator so that you can make yourself smarter and make yourself more efficient and thereby become more valuable because you can do more things, right? And there's no other way for us to advance as a society other than to have better tools at the disposal of more people. And although like there are parts of the world that are just coming into the internet, they will grow much faster as a result of having these tools online when they enter the internet or as they get more access to consistent high speed internet. It'll change how much more quickly they integrate because they'll have better tools again at their disposal than we had being in a first world country. So I would urge people to not be so concerned with being replaced, but decide to use the best tool at your disposal. And if it doesn't comfort you to think about it through that lens, just know that you now have access to the same type of information that the rest of the world has, where 20, maybe 30 years back, you didn't have a great library. You couldn't get the information at all. So it is a way to improve our upward economic mobility, depending on where you come from, you know, whether or not it's upward or not. But the information is democratized. Why wouldn't you leverage that for all that it's worth?
It's an absolute advantage to use ChatGPT. And when you first started using it, I was low-key like, don't tell nobody how you using it. Like I was trying to, you know, figure it out because it felt so unreal. The speed of things, the upper hand that I felt like you had and just some of the things you were using it for. So I'll just kind of...
And none of the people that I suggested it to probably are still not using it. That's what's interesting.
He'd be so bitter about people not using your stuff or your suggestions. and the thing about it is, so many people, I think, especially the friends and the family around us, hey y'all, we love y'all. But sometimes it's true that they're not going to adopt things because one of us shared it with them. Yeah. They have a different relationship with us and they're going to go adopt it when somebody else says it. And then we got to sit there and be like, man, I told them, but somebody else told you, Beyonce said it and now you do it. Yeah. So whatever. That's fine. But it's a real advantage when you use it. All of us are going to use it differently. None of us are going to use it in the same way. So don't feel like you got to use it like Rashad uses it and put forms and do zaps, and don't feel like you got to use it like I use it. And I'm figuring out how to plan projects. You know, you'll use it in your specific way. I think it could be really, really helpful. Mm-hmm. So. And as we all grow, there's no chance that we'll use it the way that we used to use it before that. Mm-hmm. You know, the way that we used it when we first started. Stay sharp. Thank you for watching. We appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button and the follow button and all those buttons. And look in the show notes for any resources that we'll put in there. Hit us up if you need anything, and we'll see you next time. For sure.